Redirecting to Facebook Live page. All right, I do believe we are live. Okay.
Hey, we are live, Mr. Tommy Gallant.
We are live. and just to make sure, refreshing my page on my phone to make sure that everything's in top working order, which it is. All right. Well, here we are on yet another freedom. Another
Freedom Friday.
There it is. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I think there was a delay there, Mr. Tommy.
It was. Yeah, the satellite's a bit slow today.
Yeah.
But talking about what are we talking about today, Adrian?
I think we're talking about this beautiful environment, right?
Well, some of us have a real one, and some of us have a
simulator. Yeah, I know.
Okay, whatever. Right, but talking about environment, I thought I'd go somewhat environmental today.
Yeah.
And I'm sporting the, you know what this is?
Oh, the old Sea Shepherd, mate. Well done. Let's save the tuna, save the dolphin, save the whale.
Save the whales. Yeah, I haven't seen. If you see, is it Bigelow?
Migaloo.
Yeah, sort of going past, and just let me know, right?
Yeah, if I see a white whale diving at your left or right shoulder, I'll let you know, mate.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, mate. Look at that. We're getting
Mr. Tommy, I've got to ask you, mate. What's with the sailor sat today? Come on.
Right.
What's the celebration?
And look what we've got happening now. Look at that.
Oh, look at sunset.
We're also capturing a sunset right now. Right. So what is happening is with this. Well, you can see here I've got roads.
That's the one.
Yeah, so one half of the family came from there, but doing my genetic analysis, and I've done a lot of genetic analyzing of myself. In fact, I'll just fix up the light. Oh, actually, well, I guess we'll watch a bit of the sunset. You just see me on the side here. Yeah, because it's right at that point where it's going down.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's sunny, isn't it? Oh, my Lord, look at that. So where was I going?
Yeah, the hat, mate. The hat, the cap.
Right, the hat. Yes, roads.
The cap for the cap.
The cap of the cap. Yes, the Corporate Alchemist Project cap from Rhodes, and that's where genetically half of me supposedly came from. But when I did my Ancestry.com test, I find out that I'm only, even though I've got two Greek parents, something happened somewhere in the line, in the harsh environment somewhere there in the Mediterranean, talking about environment, whether it was on a boat or some gladiatorial thing, but I'm 50% Greek, not 100% Greek, as I would have imagined, and 3% Turkish. Now, Rhodes being close to Turkey, I can understand that, but there's 47% remaining. And what do you think that was, Adrian?
Romanian? I thought it was...
Romanian?
You said Romanian. I thought you said Italian.
No, I said, what do you think that was, Adrian?
Yeah.
It was Italian.
Italian, there you go.
Italiano. I'm 47% Italian, I find out.
I'm scared to do mine.
yeah, yours will be interesting.
No.
Mate, so I'm kind of like blown away with that result. And I want to find out from my folks where a bit of the hanky-panky came from. And I think it's on my mother's side.
Oh, mate, don't say too much. Not live.
Right.
I get into trouble, mate.
So, and I think it's Northern Italian, because one of my aunties, one of her sisters, said that there was a lot of Italian in hers. So I'm suspecting that's where it's coming from.
Okay.
Right. But anyway, all righty. We are here on the Gold Coast. You're sort of coming from a Gold Coastian room with a beautiful background, and
yes,
with the sunset. Talking about environment, how's that? How's this for environment, Adrian?
Pretty cool, mate. A bit of vitamin D setting in the west.
It's a bit hard to beat, right? And then you get some environmental noise from those that think they're in the V8 race down here, people on the bikes. All right, so it's Freedom Friday.
It is.
We're heading into the weekend, And this week's theme has been all about environment. And as we look at the second half of the week, where the theme tends to be more in sort of your space of, Freedom Friday, then,
Oh, Social Saturday.
and
And then we have our Soulful Sunday.
Soulful Sunday, right? And so when we consider environment and moving to kind of that part of life and investing in that part of the portfolio, which is not that transactional piece, it's that kind of connecting, relational, connecting to yourself, community, social activity stuff. How does environment kind of play with that? How does it kind of fit together?
I suppose two ways, Tommy, for me is one is whatever we do in life, we have an external environment that's forever changing.
Okay.
But as we move through those different environments, a work environment, relationship environment, social environment, etc., we tend to physically move to those different places. But in terms of the internal environment, how can we stay the same in terms of staying centered, staying present, staying with whatever we're doing in whatever physical environment around us, so that inside, if you like, in the mental environment, the soul environment, that we can hold ourselves in our center. So it doesn't really matter what physicality we're in terms of the environment,
Right.
but can we practice the art of staying in this soul environment or the self environment so that we're still always present, conscious, aware of what's going on, not into reactions and projections and judgments and fears and doubts and all those things that tend to shake us out of the center environment. So for me, it's about how can we keep practicing that? So leaving the office space or leaving the workspace on a Friday,
Yeah.
transitioning into another environment, maybe home, a bit more relationship with partner, children, family, community.
Right.
How can I hold myself steady in that inner environment? I think it's a really good question. What resources can we find to help us to do that as well?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say I find myself in a harsh environment. It could be
Like you're in right now, obviously, with that sunset and your
it's,
hat on next to the ocean.
it's pretty harsh. Yeah, I gotta say. Oh, look at that. Right, she's almost gone. But if I'm in a harsh environment from a social setting point of view,
Yeah.
and maybe there's things happening around me that makes it kind of tough. I'm kind of starting to feel like threatened, triggered, angry, sad, whatever. I mean, these environmental aspects, how do we manage those?
Yeah. Two ways for me. One is what my karate teacher used to say to me: Adrian, the best form of defense, don't be there.
Yeah.
So that's a good one.
Room.
That's a great bit of advice from my my black belt second dan karate teacher, Adrian. Best form of defense.
Right.
Great bit of advice, for a wild thing that I used to be. And the second one is having some resources, Tommy, to when one feels that trigger, when feels at a center, having the place to come back to. So what I do, particularly in my psychotherapy work, is getting people to get a sense of where is your core, where is that center,
Right.
and then what I do, and you've seen a bit of this work yourself with what I do, is I get to name that core. I give myself a core name, and I have a core stance. So I actually stand in a particular way
Right.
where I know I'm in my power. And then I have what I call my power words. That a bit like they're words that give me a sense of self.
Right.
And if I have that resource for myself, and I'll give you an example, I can have my feathers being ruffled in a situation, and I just say, my name is Powerful Adrian.
Yep.
I'm articulate, I'm kind, and I'm strong. And I stand in a particular stance where my energy flow is back in again. It's like a karate stance or an energy stance to get the energy flowing. And just in doing that reminds me of the powerful being that I am. reminds me that I have a choice of getting triggered. It reminds me I have a choice of getting angry or not getting angry. And what I often do in that space is just ask myself, where am I right now in the situation? And I don't always get it right. I still get triggered. I still have projections, reactions, judgments, fears, doubts, of course. But the more I do this work, the less I'm impacted on those things. So it's a daily practice for me.
Right.
And I choose that inner environment in my mind, in my body. I choose to be present in my own environment of self.
So, okay, you're kind of like detaching from the external situation.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Because half the time what's going on external to me is not really true anyway from somebody else's perspective. It's only true from my perspective. And then we're in conflict because there's two different ideas or opinions or thoughts about what's actually going on. Because I'll have my view or my subjective feeling around it, and the others will have theirs, and they're never really are they the same. And that's when we get that, conflict situation where we get our feathers ruffled. So a good thing to do often is to check it out.
Yep.
If it's a person involved, we can simply ask, what's going on with you right now? Can I check that out with you? Is there a tension between us? Have I done something wrong? Have you got something you need to share with me or say to me?
Yep.
It takes a lot of courage to do that often, but it is a good resource to have if you can find the courage and the vulnerability to do that.
So, if you're in a situation and you've got, let's say, you're feeling pressure actually. So you don't have someone there, but in your head, you're there and you're feeling the vibe, the pressure's on, and you've got to be doing your numbers for the month.
Yep.
You've got a couple of days left. The boss has been on your case. You're feeling anxious. How would you handle that stress situation?
For me, because I'm a meditator, I've been meditating for 20 years. The first thing I'd do is I'd take 5.
Right.
I challenge myself, go and take 5. Go to the loo, go to the park, go for a walk around the block, or just simply stop for 5 minutes, put the pen down, fingers off the keyboard, big breath, and just find the rhythm again, the breathing, and just come back to self.
Right.
Nearly always come back to self, come back to calm, come back to the sense of self, come back to one's own intuition, wisdom, knowing, and go back to the new platform to start again.
Right.
Come back to self.
Yeah.
Take a breath and go, right, let's logically look at this situation. What do I need to do? What steps can I take? Do I need to go and get some support? Do I need to actually just walk away? Do I need to engage? So in that moment, you can make a conscious decision of the next step. Because often what happens is we jump into the barrel of what I call the tumble dryer.
Yeah.
And once one's in the tumble dryer, like you never get out. It's just, it's off. Yeah. And if the door's locked on the tumble dryer, you can't get out. It's like you can stay in there for a whole weekend.
The harder you try, the faster you go down the spiral.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got to just do a timeout check.
Totally. Yeah.
Like you said, and put maybe a bit more emphasis on it, breath.
Yeah.
And that sort of like faster, maybe the 4-7-8 breathing or something like that, or box breathing, but in, because your heart rate increases breathing in. I know from like a heart rate variability how this affects you physiologically.
Yeah.
You've got cortisol pumping in a little quicker into the veins. You've got heart rate going faster, thinking you're in that fight or flight situation. And if you can fool the body over a part that you can control, if you can't control your thoughts, control your breath, fast in and then slowly with pursed lips out, it should start to bring you back down.
Yeah. It does, and otherwise what happens, obviously, some form of anxiety sets in, and for me, anxiety is just a medical term for a fear. I mean, that's the reality of what anxiety is. It's just a fear.
Right.
I always find if I focus on one part of my body, whether it's my belly or my third eye or my heart, and just breathe into that, like I imagine I'm breathing into that, just slowly, and I regulate my breathing. And one tip I give Tommy, if I've been meditating for a long time, and I share how to meditate with people. I say, often the best way to start meditating is to let out a great big sigh to get rid of any tension. So I would, drop into my meditation before I even drop into my breathing or my visualization, whatever I'm doing, I'll just go, oh, 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 and just doing that,
Right.
just the release of the body, just a bit of cathartic release,
Yep.
has a huge impact on releasing stress out of the body.
Right. It's beautiful.
Physically and verbally, just doing it, it's an incredible little resource.
Right. Right.
And it's one I've learned to do, and I do that even publicly. It's like, let it go.
Right.
Just to bring myself back into calm.
Okay. So we've got, let's say you can't leave the situation. You've always got breath. You can do this, provided you're maybe not doing it in front of everybody. And they're kind of looking over going, dude, you okay?
Yeah, in the boardroom. You know?
The toilet. Oh my God, what are you doing in there?
Yeah.
Or, like leaving the situation. You could go to the toilet.
Yep.
Or going for a walk and doing this.
Yep.
Go and get a drink of water. Change your environment if you can.
Always. Yep.
Because then the eyes are getting different information, the ears are getting information to sort of help settle. So change the external stimulus if you can by moving out of it, or change the external stimulus if you're there and you physically can. And I'm not saying by giving one to the boss, right? But or to anybody in your family. And then you've always got breath, and then you've got even like meditating with your eyes open, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, for many years, part of my experience was meditating with my eyes open, and I won't go into the whole psychology of why, but it was great. But I was still calm and able to meditate with eyes open. And there's some beautiful meditations one can do where the eyes go soft, so it's half closed, half open, so it's just a soft gaze.
Yep.
And so in the workplace, you can still sit and meditate or relax without people seeing that you're meditating, just with your eyes open, because it's easier to blank off. You can just look at something in a soft gaze, and hold that one gaze. It could be looking at a screen or a wall. It doesn't really matter, because the meditation is more about what the mind is doing anyway, not what the external visualization is doing, or the five senses. We actually try to lose the five senses in meditation, and use that, 6 or beyond sense. So it's letting go of the 3D senses and dropping into another level, and just in that in itself calms the body.
So you're going into consciousness in the mind, consciousness.
Yep.
And you're switching off all of the input receivers. Sight, obviously having the eyes open, the ears, sometimes smell.
Yeah, and even touch. Trying to. I wouldn't quite, say that we're going to levitate, through the heavens, but just in meditation, what happens is the body goes into a levitative state slightly. So we come out of the feeling sense, so we're not feeling the physical body on something, because we tend to, move out of the 3D physicality. So we even lose the sense of touch to some degree as well.
Right.
So it's good to let go of those major 5 senses and go into another realm.
And this is it, isn't it? And I think this is what people perhaps forget, what we all forget from time to time. We're so automatic in thinking, as you're looking outside, we're using our senses. We're tuned into the 3D physical world through the 5 senses that we have, even a bit of the 6 if you're very sensitive to like frequency stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And so all that stimulus and how you're interpreting your world.
Constantly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's that translation that connects into the back end, as we call it, in the amygdala, the reptilian brain, thinking survival from boss. Survival.
Yeah, and if on some way during the day or the week or your lifetime, you tend to slip into that bit of a victim state where you're looking out for the attack or the fears present in the mind. Of course, it heightens the senses, and that's exhausting.
Yeah.
To walk around constantly with a heightened sense, like the fear, the anxiety. Anxiety is just basically the heightened senses. That's all anxiety is. The senses are heightened. That's in reality, that's what it is. People have anxiety just on high-end antenna alert.
Right.
and that's it. So we have to turn that anxiety off
Right.
from the fear or whatever's going on
Right.
into calm.
Right.
And I said, for me, the best way to get out of fear or anxiety is through calming, through meditation. It works every time.
Okay.
Every time.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of the execs that watching this, those that own a business, those that are in the corporate environment, know of Stephen Covey and his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of the key things that Stephen talks about is the gap, using the gap between stimulus and response.
Yes.
Isn't it that gap where you have a choice to see how you're going to interpret this stimulation, positive, negative, whatever, but stimulus that's coming in from the environment, you then choose automatic and lazy way of interpreting a thing. Oh my God, this is what happened last time. Not cool. I'm scared. Cortisol, more panic, anxiety, or you're going, hang on. It might look like the same situation, but really is it?
Yeah. So for me, Tommy, step two, that part is choice 2. That's the second part of the process,
Right.
Because one first has to learn to be conscious of self.
What does that mean?
Well, so what Stephen Covey say is, let's make that choice. Let's choose not to react.
Right.
Well, that's all well and good, but most people don't know their reaction.
Right, but they're still kind of reacting internally.
Yeah, well, still reacting. So the choice never arises because when we're in it, we're in it.
Right.
So what we have to learn to do is be the observer of self. And that takes training. That takes a lot of, conscious work to say, can I be aware of my own behavior in any given time? So it's like observing the observer.
So that's interesting.
For me, that's the first thing to learn. And then once one has that skill, then one can make the conscious choice of saying, I'm in this situation, I have a choice to go in or out of it consciously more often. So we can do it occasionally. We know we have a choice. I'm reacting, but generally, once we're in reaction and we're in that flight or freeze space, then it's too late. The choice can't be made.
So the body's gone into, because the subconscious has gone and done a quick check, because
it's gone into survival mode. It's gone into survival
straight
mode.
away. It wants to protect you. Yeah. So it's even gone past the rational part in the front to analyze and saying, dude, last time when this happened, this is what happened. Oh my God. The body, all the blood, from a physiological point of view, I know blood's going to the extremities. It's going to be the fight, or it's going to be the flight.
Yeah, or freeze.
Or hide.
Yeah.
Right? But you're feeling the body. And what you're saying is that look at that, separate your awareness, looks at it and goes, I know, body, you're feeling like this right now. It ain't cool, but don't worry, you're not going to die, right? So you're feeling the sensations. Awareness is looking at it as an observer. Are you doing anything else?
Yeah. So then the self-talk, and that is talking, if you like, to that old self-experience. It's experienced that in the past. It's making that choice in the body subconsciously to run because there was a similar experience. If you've been bitten by a dog and a dog barks, you're going to run.
Right.
Because that's the old story. But if and it may be dangerous, it may be not all one is heard is a dog bark, but the body goes back into memory, recall, there's a dog barking, I might get bitten, so let's run away.
Right.
And yet it might be you don't need to run away because the dog is actually fine, right, and you're in a safe place, but the body reaction wants to run. So in that moment, it's about catching oneself and saying, don't worry, I have this under control, or whatever language.
Right.
To self. So it's like my current present self is talking to my old self, the one that would normally react in that space.
Right.
And I calmly say, don't worry, master Adrian's here, or grown-up age or current present Adrian's here, taking that old self, by the hand and having a quick or slow conversation with, in the mind and saying, it's okay. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to look after you. Nothing's going to happen. Right. I always say, put the little self back in your pocket.
Yep.
And then calm it down, and then take stock of the situation. But that takes a lot of work.
Right.
That's a lot of work. That's daily personal development.
Right. So learning a new habit that I'm feeling this way. Last time I reacted like this, and the bite happened when I went to fight.
Yeah.
I ran and I got chased, or I hid and they found me,
Yeah.
or I
That's it.
froze and something else negative happened. You know, so now you're going, well, hang on. I know I got bitten last time, or this thing happened, but is it a case of the bark being worse than the bite?
Yeah.
You know, because this is a new present situation. I know it looks like that, and then while you're in that mode, you're choosing your response, and your very response, not only internally in recognizing and taking deep breaths and slowing down, but then how you respond to where the stimulus is coming from could completely change the outcome.
Yeah, yeah. And in that story, Tommy, I was in Byron Bay several months ago, and I actually went to a farm, and I was just got out my car, went to go through the gate, and a dog came out the gate and actually took a chunk out my leg.
Nice.
And I went back to that farm, 2 or 3 times over a period of a few weeks afterwards, and I was really on edge
Right.
because the dog was still on the property and like could hear it and didn't know whether it was on the chain or off the chain. So yeah, I went through that and I had to really breathe in to open that gate to go back in the farm because my old body was going, don't go in there, don't go in there, don't go in there, you're going to get bitten.
Right.
But I had to breathe in and go, no, it's okay. Whew, if the dog comes again, you just give it a quick, swift kick in the jaw, so because I was prepared, whereas before I wasn't prepared. The dog just attacked me without me seeing it.
Right.
But this time, it's no, if it comes towards me, I know how to defend myself from a dog, and so I was prepared. So that I overcame the anxiety, knowing I could take the dog on and beat the dog.
Okay.
So I had a skill base to get me through.
Right. So you chose a different response this time,
Yeah.
and you, yeah. Uh, so it wasn't so scary
No, because
you,
I knew I could take the dog out if it attacked me. So it was like,
right.
yeah.
Right.
So it wasn't as scary. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, hang on, we've got to have a quick look at this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're picking up the reds.
Yeah, look at that. Beautiful. Oh, beautiful.
Stunning, right? God, get spoiled.
Friday afternoon, Freedom Friday, sun setting,
Freedom Friday.
glass of orange juice on the deck, Captain Tommy.
Have orange juice. I'm going to have a bit of red.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you do the red, I'll do the orange.
I love the red juice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Then, I mean, that is the one that's at the core, I think, of a lot of it's emotional anxiety, cortisol raising stuff,
Yeah.
and this is what's creating a lot of chronic disease these days too, right? Because of the cortisol, because of the stress hormone, constantly.
Yeah. Constantly causing acid in the body, constantly,
Right.
constantly,
Well,
constantly. Yeah.
and then your diet doesn't help, especially if it's a very acidic diet, and your body's having to try and use energy, because when all that energy is being used for a potentially survival situation and it's at your extremities, it's draining it out of
Yeah.
the organs and everywhere else. Where, hey, we need vitamins, we need nutrition over here, we need oxygen, we need this and that, and it's constantly sitting at the extremities.
Yep, totally. Yeah. And then, of course, we've got the rising diabetes and things like that because of that fight thing is going all the time.
Right.
And then cortisol levels change. And then, there's a big, huge cause of diabetes
Right.
in the body.
Because then you're also causing, you emotionally, you're going for sugar, or you're going for booze, or you're going for something that just tastes really good. It's really
because you need to replenish what's been lost, and how we know how to do that is to get a sugar fix.
Right.
That's the closest thing to cortisol is sugar, sugar, sugar. So it's like, let's go and grab that, put that in the body because I need sugar because I'm depleted of energy.
Right.
So it's like, let's get an energy buzz on sugar, and then of course sugar goes in the body, and well, we know the story.
We know the story. Yeah, sugar killed 422 million people in 2016, according to World Health.
There you go.
We've gone from, what is it, 2000 and was it 2000?
So there's a pandemic.
Yeah, right.
A real one.
Okay.
I'll be very careful what I say. We might get banned on Facebook.
Yeah, we might, especially right now. We're pretty sensitive about it. But I mean, we're talking almost 500 million people, right, in 2016.
Yeah.
Due to sugar-related causes, not COVID-related causes.
sugar.
And it's just freaking massive number and growing.
Yeah, it's the one thing, particularly if anybody's got any children, if you can get your children off sugar, seriously, I'd say it's the number one.
Right. A lot of people think, oh, well, that's sweet, therefore it's sugar, but they don't know things like flour, anything that's grains, refined grains.
Yep.
Raw whole grain is better because you've got fiber attached to it. Fruit, yes, it has fructose, but it's got fiber attached to it, so you don't get the spike. What we're trying to do is get people on an even energy keel, not spiking them all the time, which then causes an insulin spike, then puts a whole lot of work on the pancreas, etc., and then you start getting things like cancer.
Absolutely.
Sugar. And what loves sugar? Cancer, right?
Yes.
Right. And so when we're not looking at our environment and interpreting it in a different way, I mean, I remember global financial crisis. There's an environment for you.
There was a stress.
Wasn't it? And I look back at that situation, and, it was tough for me and my partner, for the whole world.
Yeah.
And I look back now and look what actually happened that meant that we didn't have shelter, that we didn't have food, right? Maslow's first two at the bottom.
Yeah.
We were fine, our child was fine. And I look now and I think that was just a whole academic nightmare.
Yeah.
And even if I'd lost money, right? Fortunately, we had friends that were cross-currency loans with real estate here, and they were switching. And every time they were doing it, they were realizing loss, and we managed to have enough courage to hold on. Things recovered.
Yeah.
Even if we did, it would have been still on paper. Were we going to starve? No. Were we going to have nowhere to live? No.
Yeah.
A lot of people did get affected by that in that way. But all of the rest of us that didn't actually get physically impacted.
Yeah, I think Australia got away a bit lighter. The States, I mean, all the foreclosures on properties, etc. I mean, it was pretty horrific for a lot of people.
Yeah. Massive, right? But everybody else that didn't have it still went through massive stress. How everybody was interpreting the situation. There would have been people that lost their homes, and it wouldn't have affected them anywhere near as much as some that felt the threat of losing their home.
Yeah. And of course, what happened in that space, Tommy, is, Big Pharma did really well because everybody's going to get their anxiety pills. Right. And not learning, not everybody, but a majority of some, did learn to meditate and, come into self. But for a lot, became more anxious because they're on medication. Of course, we know that medication is a negative generally rather than a positive because it has such a negative effect on the body physiologically.
Yeah.
It causes more stress on the body. It's, the mind might be settled for a while because it blanks the mind out.
Yeah.
But the effect on the body, the environment of the body, the gut health, it's I remember working with a client a couple of years ago,
right?
And we worked at the weight, just the weight of the medication she was on, all the pills, and she was on a cocktail, and we worked at, in 1 year, she was on 720 grams of medication. That's nearly a kilo of medication in the body in a year. 720 grams, because she was on, various doses every day and various different things, one to counteract the other, to counteract the other. And I said to her, can you imagine what the environment of your body's like with, the residue in your blood, in your body, and in your fire, in your organs of 720 grams? Because your body won't release, there'll be parts left in the body. You can't release it.
Yeah. Absorbed by the fat cells and so on.
And it's like, that's just an incredible amount. I mean, how does one get to the point in your life where you're taking 720 grams of medication in a year from a professional? Like, I don't get it. Like, my head just goes, how's that even possible? Yeah.
Right.
In one word, yeah. Yeah. And, that creates, the environment around Big Pharma, it environments the environment of the client and the patient. It's there's a whole nother environment there. And if we're not centered in our being, it's easy to be led down another environmental path that's detrimental for us.
Right.
Because somebody knows better. And
and I see, and I might be getting a bit dark here, but environmentally, people taking responsibility for their situation, and there's a lot of information available. Just go to Google, Safari, whatever your browser.
Dr. Google.
Dr. Google. That can get you into more trouble, right? And you start perceiving different things. I mean, the whole thing's built on fear motivation. It's the most powerful motivator. I'm sure you know better than me.
Oh, yeah.
That's out there. And extract some dollars from somebody, whack in a whole lot of fear. You
Yep,
know,
that's it.
get them interpreting the world that something's going to happen, and they'll hand over the checkbook.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Hey, you're looking pretty old. Do you want some get younger pills? And here
right,
you go, only $50 a pill.
right. And then
Because
environmental,
nobody wants to look old. There's a fear in that.
right? So you're changing the fear state temporarily,
Yeah.
but you're creating permanent damage in the environment of your body, right? And then you're starting to treat symptoms. And you've got to go upstream to actually fix the problem. In this case, because we're talking about the second half of the week, it tends to be more the emotional, mental, spiritual stuff,
Yes.
right? And that tends to be more the upstream issue that causes a lot of the physiological stuff. But when you start to put different chemicals into your body,
Yeah.
then you start creating different symptoms somewhere else.
Yeah.
This whole chain reaction. Everything's connected in there. It's not like on its own. One symptom. You don't treat biomarkers.
Exactly right. Yeah. Look, as a psychotherapist, Tommy, 20 years I've been, and I know from every person I know that's got a physical ailment, there's an emotion sitting behind it, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt.
I mean, even like I've got really tight hips still, and part of it was perhaps caused by a fair bit of use. When I used to train for triathlon and on the bike, and you're hunched over and so on. But I'm pretty sure there's emotional stuff that's sitting.
Oh, mate, we might have to go there, Tommy. We might have to go there, my friend.
No, they're gonna be scary. Doctor,
and you know what? There it sits.
right.
Those exact words. It may be a bit scary.
Maybe scary.
Because what stops us going into the emotions? Well, I might see something I don't like.
Right.
I might hear something I don't want to hear.
Yeah,
And
I might become
it's
aware.
It's easier not to go there and put up with the pain, because if I open that can of worms, where's it going to go? Subconsciously, that happens all the time.
Right.
So a skilled therapist will help somebody to go through that and slowly unpack what needs unpacking.
Right.
In the emotional realm, and then of course the emotional release will come. I think I shared, I've just been through a huge, big emotional process myself last few weeks, and I've unlocked a body trauma that was sitting in me for 50 years.
Wow.
And I've now got an arch in my feet. I can arch my feet. I've never had arch in my feet for 50 years. I did some body release work a few weeks ago over a particular issue I'm carrying, and my feet sort of snapped, in the process. My tendons released, and now I bought a new pair of shoes today.
Nice.
And my feet were sitting in the shoe arched for the first time ever.
Wow.
50 years body trauma sitting in my body.
I'm sorry.
It's mind blowing.
Right.
Like if I hadn't have experienced it, I'd just go, nah, that's not possible.
Right.
So it's, for those hips, we just go back to, when it first happened and what the trauma is behind it.
Right.
We change the environment of the story in the mind, because the reality is that story may have been relevant one time, but now it's like a piece of old moldy cheese in the fridge. It's used, it's past, use by date, it's gone.
Yeah.
And we've got to go back and just release it.
Right. I'm just going to get some light on in here. Just
look, we can see you with the white hat on. Yeah.
Here we go. We don't. The light's not very bright, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So tell me, with the hat, is there a new environment sort of coming from the hat, or what's the story?
A new environment coming from the hat? Yeah, can't talk about that one. That one's confidential, but we may be. This is a little clue, and we're going to keep it a surprise.
Yeah.
But yes, there could be some episodes coming from a different environment.
There we go. There's a little bit of a bit of a lead.
Yeah, we're not going to give it all away right now, but the cap is a clue. So yeah, all right. Well, look, I mean, just to sort of close this one out, I'm thinking, especially since it's getting damn dark here.
So hey, I've got the sun coming up like 10 k's down the road from you.
Yeah, your sun hasn't moved, mate, and my environment has.
Hang on.
I've got a dynamic environment here. It's getting darker, but it seems to me the common thing is that how you interpret what your perception is of the information that you are receiving from the outside, from the environment, is what's really making big changes to your internal environment. And if you do that chronically and seeing things in that way constantly, that you're constantly like in that panicky mode or anxiety, the tap of cortisol is constantly dripping as it transpires into a physiological thing,
Yeah.
that's going to really start to affect your health longer term.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And have some, pretty detrimental for a lot of people.
Yeah. We see that with execs for sure. Anybody that feels they're under pressure.
Yeah.
Some people handle it better than others, and some make the change.
But I want to challenge that idea of some people handle it better, because a lot of people, push it down, squash it down, handle.
Oh,
Meanwhile, in the body, the body's, got the kidneys out of place, or the heart's out of place, or something's out of place. So everything looks good on the surface.
Yep.
But underneath, internally in the internal environment, everything's not okay. And yet, the smile and I've got everything under control is sadly the story that gets told in many cases. And yet internally there's turmoil, for the body. And something has to snap or give at some point.
Something has to give. You can't keep putting it in the box and thinking, I'm going to hustle and grind it through. I mean, I did in a corporate career of 28 years, and it started to affect my health. I had a health wake-up call, So, yeah, okay. And so here we are. All right. Well, any final comments, Adrian, on environment when we're talking about, Social Saturday, Soulful Sunday, Freedom Friday, basically all things emotional, mental, and spiritual?
Yeah, I'd suggest over the next, few days, really heighten that sense of self in the environment, to become aware of how one is treading in one's environment, is reacting, responding, being in the environment, and see if you can start to do a bit more self-awareness around seeing oneself and knowing oneself in that space.
Right.
Yeah, so a little bit more inner reflection. If you feel a twinge in the body, like pay attention to it, or what was that intuitive feeling in my body? Right. Maybe I shouldn't go there or interact, or maybe I need to leave. Like, tune into that intuitive knowing a little bit, I would suggest, to heighten that other sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, because what you do, if you heighten the other sense, it gives the other ones a bit of a rest.
Okay. So becoming aware, the first step is becoming aware and trying to observe it.
Yeah.
Don't run from it. Don't fight it. Just see it.
Observe it. Yeah. See it for what it is. And then from there, one can make a more conscious decision on what to do next.
Okay.
Rather than going into automatic fight or flight.
Right.
Just pause. I suppose hit the pause button for 10 seconds and then breathe and then make a decision. Look at you. You looks like something out of Gotham City behind you.
Does a little, doesn't it? There we go. So just to help on the on closing out with some very environmentally, what would you say? Not satisfying, but stimulating. No.
Just a beautiful environment. I mean, the more I spend on the Gold Coast, the more I love it. It's just I love the bright lights and love the ocean, love the vibe.
Well, if you get to this situation, then you can start to decompress and relax more, and then breathing more, just changing your environment. And I had to do that. Went from Singapore and the hub of busyness to coming to a different environment for physiological reasons and for paternal reasons. As a father, being closer to my little guy, same country at least. So there we go. And even that's become hard now.
Yeah, the environment's changed in Australia in the last couple of days, even, with the lockdown in Victoria, etc., and having effects everywhere. I saw a post on that other channel, the social media channel, the little one, of a friend who was in Sydney Airport at 4:30 yesterday.
Right.
And he videoed walking off the plane from Ballina. It arrived in Sydney, and the whole airport, the exit, walking out at 4:30 on a Thursday afternoon, it was empty. Sydney. This is not Melbourne. This is Sydney, where there's no lockdown.
I've experienced it in Sydney.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, 4:30 on a Thursday in Sydney is usually chock-a-block.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody there. It was an empty zone.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Totally bizarre.
We live in some strange times, but I believe there's going to be some good stuff that comes out of this, because we've got to break the old world, and that's what's happening.
It's breaking down, and with CAP, just saying, if you want to tune into CAP, go over to that other station that is not mentionable on this station, and then just join us over there. Come and log in and come and connect and put some messages in.
will be over there on the page, and the group. Come and knock on the door in the group if you want to join the Corporate Alchemist Project group. There's a few little interview questions and so on to go through. But all right, well, I think it's time to enjoy the weekend.
Here. Oh, I think so, mate. I think it's beer o'clock for some.
1 o'clock. And hope you have a good weekend, and also to all our viewers out there. And thanks for the feedback we've been getting, and the engagement with regards to doing these videos, and as we sort of distribute them around. And we are. I'm trying to remember what we've got set up for next week. It's in the calendar.
It's in the calendar, mate. Maybe we'll leave it as a surprise for Monday, so we'll surprise ourselves.
It's an inadvertent surprise yet again. We might even change it last minute. Who knows?
Who knows? All right, Tommy G. Let's call it a wrap.
We will,
and we'll touch base with everybody very, very soon.
We will. See you on Monday, guys. Okay. Bye.